What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Blood of Dawnwalker and go over the almost around 20-minute gameplay video we got. I'd say it's technically longer. It's like 21 and then something, but the last couple minutes is nothing that adds to it. So really, about 20 minutes of footage for this game. I want to go over kind of the key strengths, key weaknesses that I noticed, and continue to talk about this game that I think has enormous potential. And let me just start there by saying, and I guess on a positive note, to be honest with you, the polish and the way that it looked, just like a summary, right? My overall thoughts, it actually looked far better than I thought it was going to look. There's definitely things that need to be fixed. I mean, it's a pre-beta, right? I mean, this is a game that, and I've been saying it for a while, I don't think this is, like, it's 2026. I don't think it's early 2026, okay? I definitely think this is probably like a November, December next year game. So they got a year and a half, probably closer to a year and a half, right, to iron it out because, yeah, there's some jank. You can look towards the end with that older, vampire boss type thing, and just some of the movements, like it looks a little bit like wonky, the animation. There's some things like that. There's some things just, generally walking around the city, like, it needs a little bit more time. Okay, I'm not going to hold that against it. But to be honest with you, overall, I actually was kind of impressed. I actually thought it would look less ready than it did. And so I come away pretty impressed. And to be honest with you, the main thing I find to be pretty impressive about the entire thing is actually the combat. And they started off very, actually strong and fast with the combat. Towards the very beginning of this gameplay, you see the sword fighting. Now, I've seen some comments, and I do think I would agree with this as well. To me, it doesn't matter so much the sword fighting camera, but it matters towards the end. So they showed an encounter with the sword, and they showed an encounter when you're the vampire and you're using your claws. Now, they say you can use the sword when you're a vampire, right? But the point being, the camera, I think, just needs to be pulled back a little bit. And I saw a couple people echoing that. I actually, when it was the sword combat, I didn't feel it exactly the same. Maybe because it was a little bit more of like an open area. It didn't seem as bad. But when you were in that cathedral, everything's tighter. You know what I mean? Everything's like closer together. You're using your claws. You're dodging like the whips from the vampire. It's when that happened, I just felt, yeah, maybe pull the camera just a little bit more from your character. But to be honest, I don't think they ever talked about the combat up until today. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, what I mean, they're doing like almost the Kingdom Come Deliverance thing of you can pick your directions. Now, when you think Kingdom Come Deliverance, I guess I don't want you to think all the way, right? Because it definitely, to me, it looked a lot like Geralt swinging a sword, but then with a little bit of that pre-planning Kingdom Come stuff, right? So you pick your 4 directions of when to strike, you got your blocks, you got your counters, but it felt a little like more arcadey in nature, like when you're parrying and there's kind of like this, this almost like bounce back, like ping type thing. It felt good. It looked good, I should say. Honestly, I assume it feels good, but we can definitely talk about the looks, right? So I honestly was very impressed by that. And even with the claws, it's the same thing, like countering or parrying, blocking, picking your direction when to slice. It's got like a free flow type movement to it, cutting people's heads off, right? I saw people complaining about, so you can almost pause it and you kind of zoom in when you're picking the ability. I actually didn't mind that. I mean, if you're doing it like 20, 30 times in a fight, maybe it, becomes a problem, but they seem to be like cooldown abilities / their limited amounts of them, right, that you get to pick. So I don't know how often you would do that in a fight, but I mean, I could see, I guess, the weakness. I honestly did not mind it very much, but that was my main take. I mean, honestly, biggest thing I took away is, yeah, camera I think needs a little bit of work, but the kind of reactionary like combat style I actually thought was really, really good. And the fact that you can kind of pick and choose not just like the weaponry, right? Because after you defeat those enemies, actually a couple other things that stem from that, right? It looked pretty sleek, and I guess what I mean by that is like, this is an open world, it's got those Witcher vibes. It felt very clean, and I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but when they showed like the menu, and they show, you eating a sausage or whatever it was, right, and picking your weapon, just nice to look at. Like the blocks are just, there's not a lot there, even though it's like this open, RPG type thing. It's not flooded. When you go into the city, I think you can tell it's not like the most AAA of AAA games, right? There's dynamic events happening. People are going to doors and knocking, and you can kind of hear side conversations, and they say that those things actually turn out to be quests, right? So you want to keep your eye and ears on these, random occurrences that are taking place. the streets are not flooded. We just saw, the state of Unreal, what they kind of want to do with Witcher 4 of like freaking populating a world, right? Of like, okay, this is what a small little village looks like. You're not getting that here, right? There's some people moving around. There's some stuff to learn. It's dynamic, but it's not the most dynamic. But a little refreshing because it's like it doesn't need to be completely jam-packed. And then, when they went on the map, they did it very briefly when you're inside like the city walls. You see your quest markers, you see your question marks, your different icons, not flooded. There's not 50 symbols on the screen. And I don't know, like not every game has 50 symbols anyway, like granted, but I can appreciate, it's a pre-beta, maybe it gets flooded with things later on, but I kind of appreciate this almost simplistic feel. And I think, I got the simplicity, I feel like, through the combat, but then like choosing the directions, I think makes it a little bit more complex, right? Like in a good way. And then even the quest, the whole idea of this presentation was here's a quest done in 2 different ways and 2 pretty different things happen, right? You go in the cathedral during the day, you just walk right in and you encounter a cutscene. You can, repent and go through all that. I don't know if like there was a deeper thing you were supposed to do there. I guess you're investigating the cathedral, right? You handle that differently during the day than at night. So at night, you have to feed on people. So, seeing that feeding mechanic was pretty cool. They talk about how you can go after animals and other things. You don't have to go on people if you don't want to, but you kind of need to eat, right? They talk about, okay, now the cathedral's guarded. So now you got to go in through like the roofing, and now there's like a blood ritual going on where there wasn't that going on during the day. Now you got to fight, and it's probably going to be too hard for you because it's kind of an end game thing, and you're doing it in the middle of the game. So, again, almost simplistic because nothing was all that outrageous. Teleporting looks fun, looks snappy, but it's not like insane, right? It's like it's not like you've never seen it before. You've seen it, but it seems to work quite well. And then, it's, to me, it's the dynamics of like play it how you want, right? You don't want to do that quest, you don't even have to do that quest, right? There's no such thing as a main and side quest in this game. They said that kind of all quests kind of fall together. You don't have to do this quest if you don't want to. And they said it in passing, but I really like it because it's kind of like a specific thing. So you literally walk past that castle and they say, over the commentary that that's your end goal, right? So you have that countdown, you got 22 days left to go there. You could literally do that mission right then and there. You could storm that castle because that's the end goal, is literally storming the castle. Now, you can storm it by yourself or you can storm it with like an army that you're going to recruit, if you play the main game, but you don't need to do that. You could literally just go take it right now. Now, it'll be insanely difficult, but you can try it, right? And it's like, again, they said it in passing, they walked right by it, they weren't going to do it, but that to me is the standout of this game, right? It's going to feel a little Witcher. I think at times it's going to feel a little discount Witcher, but like, I don't know. I think it's going to have good acting. I think we got a little bit of that in this presentation too. It's got the different choices. They honestly chose conversational choices, and I was hoping they would choose different ones. Like when they showed the options, I thought of like what I would pick, and they didn't even pick it. So it's like, okay, I wonder what happens, and want to see how it plays out if I pick what I wanted, right? And then a mission can be totally different depending on if you play it day or night. So that's where I think like their talent and their like uniqueness, like them being an individual, studio separate from all of this, that's where I think that can really shine through. Some of the stuff I think is going to be a little bit more by the books, but no, honestly, main takeaway, it actually looks more polished than I thought. I thought it wouldn't look that good. There's definitely things they need to fix in that polish, and then it's just about hammering away what makes it unique, which is what we already kind of talked about in this video. So I come away definitely impressed, and I come away very ready to play this game, although, like I said, I don't think we're getting this game until late next year, if that. I would not be surprised if this was pushed, by the way. If they said it was 2027, I'd believe them. I think that kind of makes sense. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.